Well, greetings, fellow modelers and fellow lovers of the R.M.S. Titanic. I got another video to show you today. It seems like it's been forever since my first shipment. I'm talking about the AGORA models, and we're building the R.M.S. Titanic in 1/200 scale. We finally got the package in. There is something that I want to discuss with you guys. I'm having an issue about something and I don't know what to do. Maybe you guys can give me your opinions in the link below. But in light of some news about the Eagle Moss, well, actually, let me go ahead. I'm going to show you guys my problem. Those of you guys that follow my channel know how much I love Star Trek and I love the Enterprise. And I've started Eagle Moss Build the Enterprise D project probably close to a year ago. Right now I'm about halfway finished. And she's starting to look really, really gorgeous. This primary hull actually weighs a ton. I don't know if I can find the switch. I always have a problem finding the switch to put it on for you guys. Well, anyway, this isn't a video about this. My problem is that all of a sudden, when I go to the Eagle Moss website, nothing's available. Everything, according to them, is sold out, and you have to register your interest to get any more. So I'm a little freaked out because I don't know if they're closed, if they're never going to open, and I'm never going to get a chance to finish my model. So that being said, I'm pretty spooked now about the AGORA models. And this is my second shipment that we have in. I did the primary shipment. I'm going to do the same thing like I did with the Enterprise D. I'm going to show you an unboxing and everything that comes in the shipment, including the magazines. And then I'll do a separate build video. So I'm going to do that with the AGORA, but I'm wondering if I should continue with it before I'm in too deep and something happens like this. I'm in for this real deep. Like I said, it's about halfway done, and I don't know what to do with the AGORA. Should I just continue to receive the shipments and hope that I get all of them? Or should I cut my losses and move on? Like I said, what do you guys think? Fellow modelers, if you're in the same situation, what did you do? But that being said, let's go on and I'll show you guys what's in the shipment 2 of the AGORA models Build the Titanic. Is that all that's opening, that's holding it closed? All right. Okay, look at that, AGORA models. Again, I'm a little freaked out by Eagle Moss. I don't necessarily know that Eagle Moss is closed. I haven't heard anything from them at all. And I did the pre-order for the USS Stargazer. I'm hoping that's not in the wind. I hope that's going to actually come in. And actually, I want to build the rest of the Titanic. All right, let's go look at the AGORA. This is from the Titanic. You can see on the website, you can see what she looks like at night or in the daytime. So we got a bunch of little boxes. And this is Hatchet. Like I said, we're going to go through everything a lot more detail, but I just want to kind of preview what's in the box. So we got a couple of these boxes. I'm not sure if these are batteries or we'll see. And we got another one. Let's put these aside. We got a total of 4 boxes. And now we get to go into the fun stuff. This is part 5. We've got part 6. We got part 7. And we've got part 8. And is that everything that's in the box? That's everything. Alright, so let's go ahead. We'll put the box aside. And let's start with 5. Alright, let's take a look at this wonderful model kit. This is Titanic Ship Legend. This is number 5. Look at that picture. Like I said, I hope I get a chance to finish this model. And looking at page 1, we got the ship, the legend, issue 5. A Date with Destiny, the Edwardian Era, Life on Board, and step-by-step instructions. And it shows you what's coming, the parts list, and reader services, and different information, and the packaging and the cycle. So let's move on, and we get to see Mr. Thomas Andrews. Now, Thomas Andrews went down with the ship he had helped design as managing director and chief naval architect at Harland and Wolff. He was traveling on the ship's maiden voyage to observe its performance. His original plans for 48 lifeboats instead of 20 that were on board had been overruled. And their philosophy for overruling that was that they didn't even have to put 20. They weren't required to put that many. So he wanted 48, and if there were 48 lifeboats, there would have been a lot more people saved. Possibly everybody. And you can see the dry dock where Titanic was built in the port of Belfast. That's one of my bucket list things to do, guys. I want to go there so bad. I want to take a cruise, a transatlantic cruise, and I want to go to Ireland, England, and I want to see the Titanic Museum, and I want to go and I want to see the dry dock so bad. Before I die, hopefully I can get to that. The dry dock in which Titanic was built in the port of Belfast. Just gives you the chills. And the iron plating and the rivets that are holding the dry dock together are the same ones used on Titanic and Britannic and Olympic. So to actually be able to feel that, it would be closest I could ever get to feeling Titanic herself. Looking at the life jackets, members of the crew wearing their life jackets in the photograph taken before Titanic set sail from Southampton. From tragedy to myth, Titanic at the cinema. Saved from the Titanic, 1912. Country of production, black and white. Duration, 10 minutes. A creation of fiction inspired by real-life events, while its memories of those involved are still fresh, is not a recent phenomenon. I'll tell you what, if I can find any trace of this film or stills, I will put them up for you guys. Probably won't be able to do the video if I find it because of copyright issues, but you can better believe I really want to see that, and I'll put up video stills if I can find it for you guys. You can see this is probably the movie poster, Saved from the Titanic. Eclair's exclusive extra, a startling story of the sea's greatest tragedy by Miss Dorothy Gibson, the survivor. She is supported by a powerful cast, 6-color and cold posters, herald photos, a film without a parallel. Eclair Film Company, Tuesday, May 14th, and that's in 1912, Fort Lee, New Jersey, sales company, sole agents. And it's a quick movie if it's 10 minutes. I don't know if this is 10 minutes total or that's only what they were able to save, but pretty short. The playbill from Save the Titanic, in which the film is described as being a film without a parallel. In many ways, this was true. It was released just a month after the tragic event, included exclusive images, and starred Dorothy Gibson, a director, witness, and survivor of that fateful night. And over the years, they have had fantastic movies. If you guys get a chance to see A Night to Remember, that one is fantastic. Even the Nazis produced a movie about Titanic, so it shows you Titanic touched everybody. Of course, 1997, James Cameron is a masterpiece. I think that's the absolute best one. So looking at the cost of traveling first class, and you can see the boarding pass. Permission granted to come aboard White Star Line's RMS Titanic. I actually showed you a reproduction of this, obviously not the original, but I showed you a bunch of the paperwork, the passes, and the deck plans. I did the same thing with my Titanic related stuff. I made a special playlist of everything that's Titanic. I have a separate playlist for all my Titanic models. Incidentally, I got another one coming up that I have a special project for to show you guys, so stay tuned for that. When it comes back to this, a reproduction boarding card for Titanic. Original mementos from the ill-fated Colossus of the Seas have become highly sought-after collectible items. No doubt that would be worth a fortune, the real one, if it's even available. Below the souvenir shop at the Titanic Museum in Belfast, where it is possible to buy all manner of Titanic-themed souvenirs. Of course, I want to go there so very badly. Spot on board squash. The sport on board was squash. I'm not familiar with that. An early 20th century squash court. It was highly fashionable sport at the time among British gentlemen, so much that there was a court aboard Titanic, so maybe it's like golf. I'm not saying the sport is like golf, but the prestige of golfing, perhaps. And we go to the pieces. I actually stopped putting them all together. This is the hull selection and the connectors. You guys remember the last package we did, the introductory one, we did the top half of this section. We have more for the engines. Again, we had done the pistons and everything in the engines. So those are short connecting rods for the engines. We have the connecting shaft, the valve rods, the link sections, and we have the starboard bow hull section. Step-by-step instructions. You can see it's relatively straightforward. We put the sections into the little clips, the little C-clamps or clips. Again, relatively straightforward. So this one was not the hardest. Again, I wish we had the option of just getting everything at once so we could avoid the possibility of not being able to finish. But this was number 5, the Titanic, the ship, the legend. So let's go ahead. We're going to take a look at number 6 now. And that's, of course, from Hatchet. We got the same at the beginning. We got the ship, the legend, and we have the index, the giant of the sea, a date with destiny, Edwardian era, and step-by-step instructions. And you can see what's in this issue. Really not too much to be excited about. Vulcan's Forge, the Titanic boilers. I'm very fond of Vulcans. Yes, I know, not those Vulcans. That's a separate video. Left, a detail of the Titanic Engineers Memorial, a monument in bronze granite erected in Andrews Park, Southampton, in honor of the engineers who lost their lives in the disaster. The memorial was inaugurated in April of 1914. That's absolutely beautiful. And it goes into stamps, centenary stamps. You can see the propellers in the front. You got that big beautiful shot of her bow. The stamps issued in Canada to commemorate the century of the sinking. Interestingly, they are permanent stamps identified with the letter P instead of a value. Anyone buying them may use them at any time in the future without surcharge. And we got a couple of really amazing pictures. I think that's of the Olympic after the accident. Incidentally, Captain Smith was captaining the Olympic during that accident. Violet Constance Jessup. When disaster strikes, everyone is touched by it, but certain individuals rise to the challenge. and some survive immense tragedies unharmed. And this is a really fascinating story with this lady. Violet Jessup in her Red Cross uniform, and the gash of the hull of the Olympic following the collision of the British warship Hawk. You can see right where the bow pierced. Songs for the victims of Titanic. My Sweetheart Went Down with the Ship by Roger Lewis, F. Henry Clickman. And again, if I can find any kind of a clip, I will put a small sample of it up, obviously because of copyright issues. The YouTube police are constantly on the prowl for you not being able to use anything. So if I can find any clip or any more information on this song, I will put it up for you guys to listen. Treasure from a Bygone Age. And look at that. Even under the water with her lifeless body, she's still absolutely gorgeous, at least I think. Titanic went down. There was little time for passengers to collect their belongings, and they all sank with the great ship. The bow of Titanic as it was found at the bottom of the ocean. And some of those treasures, you can see the plate, and that looks like a creamer. And you can see the personal effects. Crockery featuring White Star Line logo in the center. Below, an evening bag made of gold thread and a necklace and the name Amy in the center, perhaps belonging to one of the wealthy passengers staying in first class. Many mementos from the Titanic have been featured in exhibitions and auction houses worldwide, and continue to draw attention of the many ardent collectors. It is likely that there are still more treasures to be discovered in their final resting place at the bottom of the sea. I don't know about your stance on this, guys, but my stance is Titanic, she's a grave. She's a grave site, and in honor of those people that perished, I don't think anything like this should be taken up. It's a respect issue. When it comes to the ship itself, I don't approve of going down and taking anything off, because now they're looking at the Marconi room where they might want to take the Marconi actual device up because of the danger it is of disintegrating and being destroyed and lost forever. And I can understand that, but if it was in a debris field, that's different. My feelings that anything from the ship in a debris field you can bring up and we can all appreciate in a museum. But the personal artifacts, you wouldn't dig up this lady's grave and go take her necklace. So you wouldn't, in my opinion, you shouldn't be bringing stuff like this up. Unless a family member specifically recognizes it and can prove it's theirs. But anyway, that's just my opinion, guys. So now we move on to the parts part. The hull section and engine parts. And this issue has the section of the hull, the upper bow. We got the valve rods, the link sections, and 3 PWM screws. We have a spare. Again, just like in the Enterprise kit, we always have an extra spare, and that's good. You can see how we're going to put them together. So this is a basic, pretty basic, nothing totally exciting about this issue either, but these are the type of things that need to be done, especially for the engine, because the engine actually moves and runs. You can see the pistons move, and it's going to be absolute. This is what really sold me on the model. When I saw this, I just was like, oh man, now I have to get this. Because there's just no way to do this for the trumpeter version that I have. You can see the bottom, everything getting hooked up. This is going to be so much fun to do. And that's what it's going to look like after we get done this section of the build. Test the operation of the crankshaft connected parts. It's going to be so much fun. And that is part 6. Again, we'll go into the build a lot more in detail when we actually do the build, but I want to show you everything that's in the shipment. Remember, this is the second shipment that I've received. We go on to the next, which is number 7. Looking at the index, in this issue, we got the Giant of the Sea. We got a date with destiny, life on board, and step-by-step instructions. Again, and we can see what's in this issue. Again, there's really not too much to get excited about. We got the details for the forecastle, including the bow support bits, the winches, the valves, the anchor chain guides, the trim, and assorted screws. All right, let's go over to the actual pictures, and I love when they do these little tidbits about the ship. Look at how gorgeous that is. Look how big they are compared to the guys. Titanic and her sister ship Olympic had powerful propellers. This photograph was taken while Olympic was in dry dock, so this is Olympic. And of course, you got the reciprocating engines on either side, and we have the turbine in the middle with the 4 blades. Harlan and Wolff, Belfast, Ireland. You see where the propellers come from. Queen's Island. Shipbuilders and engineers, Harlan and Wolff. That's a pretty cool plaque. And one of the more sad, tragic, the unknown child. For many decades, the identity of body number 4 was unknown. The remains of a baby had been discovered during recovery efforts, but who is he? Body number 4. That's so cold and impersonal. You gotta feel so horrible for this little guy. Sidney Leslie Goodwin, September 9th, 1910 to April 15th of 1912, 4 years old. Erected to the memory of an unknown child whose remains were recovered after the disaster, the Titanic, April 15th of 1912. The grave of baby Sidney Leslie Goodwin at the cemetery in Halifax, Canada. It has 2 headstones, the original, when his identity was still unknown, and the more recent one that bears his name and the date of his birth. Is there anything more sad and tragic than the grave of a little baby or a child? You can see the commemorative plaque in Canada. It looks like that's in French, or Francais. And we got the other side that's in English. A commemorative plaque for the Fairview Lawn Cemetery recalls the Titanic's tragedy and all the victims who were buried here. Here in Halifax lie the remains of 150 victims of one of history's most tragic maritime disasters. Just before midnight on April 14, 1912, the White Star Line's R.M.S. Titanic struck an iceberg in the northern Atlantic. The majestic ship sank in less than 3 hours, and with the loss of close to 1,500 lives. In the aftermath of the sinking, White Star chartered 3 ships from Halifax and 1 from St. John's to search for the dead. Of the 328 recovered, many were buried at sea. The remaining bodies were returned to Halifax, where some were claimed by their families and rest interred at the Fairview Lawn Cemetery. Wow. Moving on, you can see life on board by looking at the pool. White Star ocean liners of the day had featured an onboard swimming pool since 1906, but Titanic's pool provided its wealthy passengers with new levels of poolside luxury. Titanic's pool in the image that was printed in a brochure. Early 20th century fashion for wealthy ladies, including elegant swimsuits and robes in which they could display in exclusive bathing establishments or onboard luxury cruise ships such as Titanic. What do you guys think? That's pretty sexy, huh? This picture, I absolutely adore this. This gets me every time I see it. It just reminds you of the tragedy. At the same time, it reminds you of the absolute beauty of this magnificent, gorgeous ship. The ghostly remains of an elaborate chandelier hang still attached to its wires in front of the opening that housed the grand staircase. Of course, unfortunately, the grand staircase is long since dissolved because of the salt water. Moving on, we get the base of the engine. And this issue is going to feature a catwalk, base for the engines, the hull joining plate, the screws. You can see the catwalk. This is going to be really fun. You can see the top section, the catwalk. Can you guys imagine how amazing it was working in the engine room of the Titanic? I mean, these things are think about it. This is the size of a 3-story house. Just totally amazing. And they had no OSHA requirements back then. So can you imagine, in one wrong move and you're getting killed in a pretty horrible, unpleasant kind of way. You can see the addition of the other part that we're going to put on. Where all the screws go, they're going to be AP screws, and then we're going to use FM screws. And you can see a kind of a support for the plates. And we put the Titanic nameplate over. And again, look how small it was with tweezers. This is in 1/200 scale, but the letters on Titanic, it was actually 50 feet long. So to give you an idea of how big this beautiful ship was. You can see the completed work, the engine. So far, there's not a whole lot in these issues to get excited about. Really looking forward to the superstructure. Again, we're going to the next one, and this is number 8. All right. Titanic, the ship, the legend. A date with destiny. The band on board, the race of the South Pole, the library and the reading rooms, and the details of the forecastle deck. And you can see everything that's in this issue. Again, nothing to get too excited about. All right, looking at the band, and the band played on. The heroic musicians at Titanic who died at their posts like men. April 15th, 1912. In this build poster from the time, 8 musicians who made up the band on board Titanic are commemorated as heroes. According to the accounts of survivors, men stayed at their posts and played on until the last moment in an effort to prevent panic spreading among passengers. And one of the things that really puts a lump in my throat is where they play Nearer My God to Thee in the James Cameron Titanic movie. It's just so, it's beautiful and it's tragic at the same time. And then they go through each passengers. They showed the bottom, the Irish lady with her children in the 3rd class. And then they showed an elderly couple as the water comes in their bed. It just is so powerful. It gets me every time. And you can see look at that. This is absolutely gorgeous. The Mauritania is absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the ships of the Cunard line, but her sister ship was the Lusitania, of course made famous by the sinking of the Germans. One of the big differences between the Mauritania and the Lusitania, the Mauritania was slightly faster, and you can see all of the air vents. The Lusitania didn't have as many on top. At least that's how I'm able to tell them apart. But this is the RMS Mauritania from 1907. Wallace Hartley had worked on other celebrated liners, including the Mauritania, reproduced here on a British postage stamp dated from 2004. I actually did the history of the Mauritania in a video if you want to check that out. I have a section or a playlist where I have all famous vessels, whether they're airplanes or ships, but I did the Mauritania. Hopefully I can do the Lusitania soon. That's a future project. We've got the race to the South Pole. You can see the map. See if I can get it all in for you guys. In 1911, British explorer Robert Falcon Scott and the Norwegian explorer Ronald Amundsen both set out to reach the South Pole. A map inside a book, Captain Scott Let's See Far, Captain Scott's Final Voyage, published by F.A. Brockhaus in 1913. The book is the account of Scott's ill-fated expedition, and the map shows the route followed by the British Arctic expedition and their attempt to reach the South Pole, along with the inset map Voyages of Terra Nova. And during this expedition, this gentleman looks nice and warm in all those furs. Norwegian explorer Ronald Amundsen, without having publicity, declared his intention, made the first successful expedition to the South Pole. And you can see Captain Scott writing in his journal at base camp on the 7th of October, 1911. He kept up his diary to the very end, recording facts about the ill-fated expedition. His notes make compulsive reading. I'll bet they do. Captain Scott and his companions at the South Pole. The Norwegian flag raised by Amundsen and a little over a month earlier is visible behind them. I don't know about you guys, but personally for me, as of this filming, this is July, and it's hot, it's humid, and I dread this time of the year. If it was up to me, it would be winter year-round with the snow, and I just love it. And this would seem to be a very beautiful place to live. Of course, heating the place would be a lot of money. But I would have no problem living at either poles, North Pole or South Pole. The ocean, the views, the ice, absolutely gorgeous. Okay, let's move on. We got the libraries of the Titanic. The illustration, which appears in the works of architecture of Robert and James Adam, 1773, describes furniture, decorations, and furnishings that were made by the architect Robert and James Adam for the home of the Count of Derby. Look at some of those. Look at that. That's absolutely gorgeous. If I can find a picture of these guys, the actual piece of furniture, or anything from there, I'll put a picture up for you guys. I love that Victorian era. The furniture, the lights. And Titanic, instructions for use. You can see this is the first class passenger list, and I actually did a video showing you guys that. Again, if you want to check it out, I have all the Titanic related articles and artifacts. Of course, it was a reproduction, but I did show you this. The brochure produced for Titanic's maiden voyage contained a list of first-class passengers in addition to other information that could have been useful during the voyage. This original copy of the brochure belonged to a survivor who had it kept folded in an overcoat pocket ready for use. Can you imagine how much this is worth today? This is probably one of a kind. This was actually on the ship. Absolutely amazing. And the one that I showed you had the fold in it. Moving on, we got the forecastle. You can see again, there's not a whole lot to get excited about. Parts in this issue, we got the bow support, the cleats, the winches, the valves, the anchor chain guide. I think that'll be that. Port, top strip, and forecastle hull. And the screws. You can see we had already done the forecastle base, and we get to add little goodies on. And this is from the underneath. We can turn the deck over and we can put the screws in. And you can see the cleats. You take the valves that fit. Look at that. And lastly, you can see how the frame is going to hold the plates or the plating together. We actually put the white section on, so she's actually looking pretty good. And a completed work. So again, this is very basic. I wish we would get more. And this is every 6 weeks. I really wish there was a way to increase that, the frequency. Eagle Moss had an option for every 2 weeks, and I did that, and I still ended up not getting them for months and months at a time, it feels like. All right, so those are the magazines. So let's go ahead. We're going to take a look at the boxes. So we've got 4, 1 for each issue. Now let's just do this one first. And this is Hatchet, of course, made in China. Let's see what's in this one. And metal. You can see the pistons for the engines. And this is the, I believe this is the bottom. Yep. Oh, don't want to lose that. Look at her deck plate. It's absolutely gorgeous. And let's look at the next one. The Hatchet. Interesting how they do the boxes. Like the Enterprise was in plastic bags. Again, we got metal pieces, and I think that's everything. And this is the frame that's going to help hold the deck plates in place, and we've got our ever-present screws. Look at that. And we got 2 sections of the... Oh, this might... You know what? I think this is the catwalk that's going to go on top of the engine. Yep. And let's see, I think, yep, these are the stairs that allow you to walk up on the sides of the engines while they're running. Again, I would love to have walked there. Just simply amazing. And this one is heavier, so this is metal. So this is going to be the side of the deck. Or, actually, no, this is metal, but this is still the engines. I think the engines are either going to rest in here or they're going to go underneath it. That's all for everything that was in this issue. Alright, let's see what's in this one. This one is Hatchet, made in China. And there's not too much in this one, I think. Is this it? Alright, so let me show you guys. We have more of the pistons for the engines, or the connector rods. We've got the screws. And look at that. Of course, this is the starboard side. And this is the side where the iceberg actually struck. Nice. Beautiful piece. Alright. Let me get this one. This one's got a little bit of tape. And there doesn't seem to be a whole lot in this one either. It's everything. And look at this, guys. This is metal.
Still, the shipyard almost silent.
We've got the beautiful.
But a century ago, this grey Belfast quayside witnessed a legend of...
Sorry about that. Look at that. The white's gonna just really, really bring her out. And this is all the way at the bow. You can see where the rigging is gonna go into. You can see the portholes. And let's see. I think this is more the engine. Actually, I don't remember what this is. But we've got more of the, I think this is for the anchor chains. More of the pieces that are going to go on the foredeck. Look at that. And more screws. So the build isn't really going to take all that long, but that's everything that was in this issue. Okay, my friends, that was everything that was included. That was the complete unboxing. And we got issues 5, 6, 7, and 8. And in the next video, we're going to be doing the build, so we're going to bring it all together. If you were wondering about what was in shipment number 2 for the build, the Titanic, I hope this satisfied your curiosity. Thank you so much for spending time with me and listening to me ramble about one of my passions, the R.M.S. Titanic. And look for the build video very soon. So thanks for watching, my friends, and I'll see you in the next video.